good. Lord, man, what a weekend it's been.
You're telling me. I had to call out sick from work on Saturday. And then I didn't even get to like rest and recover because I had to pack my house because I moved today on my 1 day off. So it's been a storm up here. Plus there was a hurricane, but like that didn't even hit me like it hit you. Are you like good?
Yeah, I'm good. Like, I probably wouldn't be recording today if I wasn't,
that's fair. We did, in all transparency, we did delay the episode a little bit.
We did.
But there was literally a natural disaster that may or may not have killed upwards of 90 people at this point.
Yeah.
Horrible incident.
Yeah, it was bad.
So I think the podcast can wait just a little bit.
Yeah, but I'm doing okay. There weren't any leaks or anything. We lost power for a little over 24 hours. A tree fell on our shed, but not on the house. So that was nice at least, But we're still gonna have to call insurance and get that sorted out. Then
my parents still don't have power.
Yeah, I got attacked by Aqua Necklace because it was raining. It just sucked.
Aqua Necklace.
Yeah,
you got attacked by Aqua Wait.
Yeah.
How are you? First of all, how are you? Wait, Josh.
What?
Well, I mean, you're still here, so like, I'm assuming you beat him.
Yeah, I just
I didn't know you had a stand. I mean, we established a few episodes, dear listener, a few episodes back that I have a stand, but I didn't know that you had a stand, which also means that you were aware that I had a stand and didn't tell me that you did.
No, I got a stand recently. It was
are the arrows floating around again?
Maybe. I was taking a stroll down, and then some asshole just shot me with an arrow. It was hit me straight in the
I can imagine
hit me straight in the ass cheek, but I was fine. Like I pulled it out and everything was good. So I guess
pulled it out.
Yeah, like it just like Shrek.
I mean, that's a broadhead arrow tip. You're not. You know what? Whatever. I'm more interested in your stand. Where you've been dancing around this topic. What is your stand power?
The stand's not important. We can move on. We can move on from the stand. It's not a big
stand
deal.
Is important.
No,
it is.
I barely
If we don't talk about it now, when are we going to talk about it? It's you, but you defeated Aqua Necklace. He's like C tier. That's like an accomplishment.
No, I don't really want to talk about it, man.
I'm going to hold us here until you tell me what your stand power is, because I have all the power in the world to prevent us from talking about anything else.
Okay, fine. If you have to know what my stand's power is, it makes people so depressed that they cry themselves to death. That's why I don't want to talk about it, because it sucks.
That's fucked up, dude.
It sucks. I didn't want to use it on Aqua Necklace, but like, what else was I supposed to do?
One-shot somebody, guaranteed. What do you mean that sucks?
I mean, it's a slow stand, so like, it can't like, it can't close distance very well. But like, if you get hit, it's like the sun stand, But
well, I mean, and what a guy to sit around and wait until he cries himself to death, because his whole thing is water.
Yeah, it sucked.
And it was in a hurricane. Jesus,
it took him 10 minutes.
That's like power
to
scaling
to death. It sucked.
What? Yeah. Only 10 minutes? I thought it was going to be like days.
Yeah. I don't want to talk about it anymore. Okay, can we just move on?
My stand sucks. No, because now I have to know what it's called.
Well, no, I'm not. Please move on from this, okay? We need to get into the show.
Absolutely not.
No, I don't want to use it ever again, okay?
8-minute intro, Josh.
You know what? Fine, just so we can move on, but you... Please just hold your... It's All Too Well.
By Taylor Swift?
Yeah, the one that kind of blew up like a couple of years ago when she released a 10-minute version of it. I don't like it either, okay? I mean, I like the song. I kind of like the song, but like I don't like that this is my stand.
I mean, if you can just survive for 10 minutes, your opponent automatically dies.
Yeah.
That seems pretty good.
Yeah, but I don't know. I would I'd have preferred it to be something more niche or something like Cassiopeia or something like, just something cool. But no, it has to be the most popular woman in the world.
Spartus.
Private jet billionaire. That's who I'm associated with, I guess. That's why I didn't want to talk about it. Okay.
I need a. It's midnight and I need a drink from my kitchen. Oh, I guess I have to go to LAX. I'm glad she endorsed Kamala.
Yeah.
I still have some criticisms.
Yeah. I have criticisms too, but I'm definitely willing to like hold them back if she sues Donald Trump into oblivion for using AI generated photographs of her.
Oh, true. It's so hard to keep up with all that guy does.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure every person who's ever lived through an election cycle has said this, but this is the craziest election cycle I think there's ever been.
They say that every year, though. They say that literally every election cycle. And, I gotta say, for the past several election cycles, it has been true that each one is more insane than the last.
Yeah. Register to vote, everyone, please.
Register to vote. Deadline is October 7th in the state of Georgia.
Okay, yeah. So if you're
early voting starts on October 15th.
Yeah. So
the 7th is also the last day to apply for a absentee ballot.
Yeah. I wonder how you know all this information off the back of your hand.
Don't worry about it. I'm very interested in as a private citizen, I am very interested in not being under the presidential viewpoint of Donald Trump.
We're
for another 4 years.
We're like in like
a convicted felon, a pedophile, a rapist.
Yeah.
Don't want it.
It's bad.
And I don't feel bad saying any of that at all because it's factual and you can look it up.
We're 9 minutes into the show. We got to introduce ourselves. I'm Josh.
I'm Brogan.
And this is How to Otaku. It's the show where I slowly learned to become a weeb, and we hit an important milestone recently in that process. I'm sure you can see it right behind me.
Oh yeah, you got figure.
I got a little figure, Look at her, she's cute.
He got his first anime collectible.
Yeah.
Look at him. This is actually a huge milestone. He got his first vinyl figurine. Now, I see the Cowboy Bebop poster, which I'm a big fan of. But next comes the big glass case with all your custom-built figurines. I've actually been looking for an excuse to start building Gunpla, and
I'm really worried about the downward spiral that this is going to become. But
I wonder why he said that.
But you can't really tell from the camera, but like her skin is incredibly pale in this, right? Like it is nearly white,
I've seen you in person, and you're a pretty pale dude. That is like, that's paper.
Yeah, it's. I mean, she spends a lot of time indoors, I assume, but or underground, I guess.
Not even indoors, underground. Yeah.
But
no sunlight.
There you go. That's an important little thing.
Please take all the time you need to make season 2 of Delicious in Dungeon as good as it can possibly be. I'm begging you, if it's the last thing we're getting from Delicious in Dungeon, I need it to be good. Pretty please delay it as much as you need to.
Yeah.
I can wait.
I was pretty disappointed to hear that like they basically adapted half the manga at this point. It's like, I'm always a person who's like, no show should ever go more than like 3 to 5 seasons. But then it's like, oh, this show is 2 seasons.
Supernatural.
This show is 2 seasons, and then it's over, and there's basically no shot of it going any further. I'm like, no, I love these characters. I need to see Chill Chuck's little family, please.
And the monkey paw curls a finger.
Yep, exactly. Today we're talking JoJo's Part 4. Diamond is Unbreakable.
Diamond does not crash.
Yep.
Duang. It's known by many names.
Yeah. It's Sorry, my dog is whining. Give me 1 second. What is it?
JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 4 Diamond is Unbreakable is in my top 3
All right,
favorite
give me 1
JoJo's
second. I
parts.
gotta take my dog out.
While Josh deals with his dog, I'm going to tell you guys all about how good this series is and about how good specifically Part 4 is, because it brings out a lot of what I really think that this show is like the best at. Like when this show really shines is when it leans into the more absurd, more kind of like out there concepts. And we don't get so far out on the deep end here because it plays with that concept in a really interesting way. And it takes this quaint little quiet small like Japanese village town and it introduces one little problem and then another little problem. And it just breadcrumbs you down this trail that it sets up so like briefly at the beginning and it pays off so well by the end. JoJo's Part 4 is one of the like strongest cohesive arcs in this series. I love what it does with the characters. I love how I love how it actually creates Jotaro into a character. You get to see some like actual side of him other than I'm gonna punch you now because I'm pissed and I'm 17 years old and I've got way too much testosterone because look at me, I'm a giant. I love it. Part 4, I'm so glad that we have 2 episodes where I get to talk about Part 4. Oh, perfect timing. Welcome back, Josh. I've been vamping.
The dog went outside and literally just started eating grass.
Mood, little man.
But this is the season that I've been waiting for, kind of, and like it's kind of weird that like it's so different from all the others because the other ones, you know, they are adventures, you know, they're like going from place to place to place, right? You know, part 1 is the most contained of them all up to this point, and then part 2 and part 3 are very like
because it is like,
you know,
UK, but it's still like, you know, he leaves his house, he's like secluded, he's out, like, we're talking about Jonathan, lives out at this manor in the countryside, and it's like the 1700s, so like roads and cars and like trains don't exist anyways, so like how are you getting around? Maybe trains do exist, I don't know.
I think they would have at that time, but still, you know, mostly horse.
I think so, but you know, I'm not a trains autistic, I'm an anime autistic, so train autistics, somebody let me know when the first train was.
Yep.
It was an adventure, and then you go further from that in part 2 where it's like world hopping, and then you go to part 3 where it is actually just around the world in 80 days, but with ghosts that punch each other.
Yep.
And now here we are in part 4.
Yeah.
And we're back in a quiet little town where nothing really ever goes wrong, except for all the time when it goes wrong for this group of people.
Yeah, what's the name of the town? I forget. It's
Morio.
Morio. Yes, correct. I just couldn't remember it off the top of my head. But the little town of Morio, you know, where Josuke Higashikata, the lost bastard child of Joseph Joestar, is finally rediscovered, and Jotaro sets off to greet him, to give him the news, and to, you know, not necessarily accept him into the family, really, but just kind of to, like, make sure he knows that, like, he's part of it, and that, you know, like, just to kind of, like, reconnect a little bit, right? You know?
Right, like, hey, you're a Joestar. Also, you are a Joestar.
Yeah.
So, like, first of all,
1 second.
like, yo, what up? Oh.
Sorry about that.
Okay, 2 things. I remember where we are, and secondly, I just saw a meme where it was a picture of like a graph of a mycelium root network for like mushrooms, and it was like, "Hey, yo, why are they sharing resources with no profit motive?"
Sorry about the interruptions. Hopefully that's the last one.
Oh no, you're
I'm
good.
gonna have to keep my voice a little down because roommate's trying to sleep. But yeah. So this is gonna be a very chill ASMR kind of episode now.
Yeah, we are recording a little bit late. If I didn't mention it earlier, I did move like all my pack 80% of it and then move today. So we're recording. It's like 11 o'clock right now in the evening. So we may turn this into a little chill sesh, a little ASMR podcast. You're right.
Yeah, and I think that Diamond is Unbreakable deserves that because, as we were saying earlier, this show is a lot more on the down low than the last 3 seasons. It's been It's been a lot more,
and we
murder mystery kind of. Like who's the latest person who's been shot by this arrow that gives people stands? What's their deal in the town?
This first chunk of episodes. Well, I mean, we start off with Jotaro showing up, and he introduces himself to Josuke, and he's like, "Ayo, you're a Joestar, and also you're a Joestar. So let's see what you can do. Catch these hands." And he pops out his stand and just starts beating them because he's like, "You're gonna learn how to do this because you're gonna need to know."
The first thing that really happens is that Jotaro has a run-in with this little kid named Koichi who goes to the same school as Josuke, and he kind of gets roped into it. It's a little awkward at first because he's just kind of standing there and listening as Jotaro and Josuke reconnect,
and I think if I remember correctly, there's an odd through line where every once in a while it's indicated that Koichi is narrating this arc. It is from Koichi's perspective, and there are several episodes that are explicitly from Koichi's perspective, which I'm not sure why Araki likes Koichi so much, but he really does. And so does Jotaro. Jotaro loves Koichi.
Araki has an interesting thing, these past 2 arcs where it's been, very centered on one specific side character, Last time it was, Polnareff, well...
Oh yeah, Polnareff.
Yeah, more Polnareff than Kakyoin, though Kakyoin, is he kind of gets centered in the last part of the arc, but but in this one it's definitely Koichi who is the who gets more of the spotlight than side characters in the first 2 parts, right?
Oh my god.
But
and the side characters in part 4.
Yeah.
Okuyasu. Oh my god, dude. Okuyasu and Josuke is one of the best dynamics I've ever seen on screen.
Yeah, it's just when dumbass and dumbass are in the same room together, what chaos will happen.
What could possibly go wrong if we go to this quaint Italian restaurant?
Yep. And it's oh no, the
Pearl Jam.
The food is making even flow.
Thoughts arrive like butterfly.
Yeah, but that's the other thing is that this is the first part where we're getting stands named after bands for every single character, basically.
Well, and I remember the English dub being particularly funny about this because, in the first couple of episodes, when you're introduced to, oh god, what is their last name or their surname? I guess Okuyasu and his brother,
the Nijimuras.
Yes, Nijimuras. When you're introduced to the Nijimuras and Josuke and Koichi go into their house to investigate the stand arrow because the older brother, I cannot for the life of me remember his name. Keicho, yes, Keicho Nijimura. They think he's been the one running around shooting people with the sand arrow, so they go into their house to investigate. And first of all, worst company, which that's awesome.
Yep.
But Keicho has this stand called Bad Company, which is just a platoon of like toy soldiers.
Yeah, it's
but they have actual weapons and actual artillery. They just happen to be this big.
Yeah, it's Small Soldiers, the movie. You know, it's that stand.
I think it's the first instance of a colony stand. I think it's the first time we're introduced to this concept.
I don't know about that. Let me think about that for a second. That might be true.
I can't remember anything in part 3 that was I'm pretty sure we've gotten here at this point. JoJo's part 4 is so in my brain that I cannot remember the cutoff so I'm not 100% sure, but we've been introduced to Shigechi, right?
The little stealer, like middle schooler.
Yeah, the guy that they have the whole the lottery arc with.
Yeah, like
So
colony stand.
Shigechi's harvest. Yes,
yeah, harvest.
That's just a thing now.
Yep.
Stands are different and weird, and they can be all kinds of things.
Yeah.
And one of the kinds of things they can be is a lot of things at once.
Yeah, it's fun to see. The stands are great because it's always just like, what's the weird little quirky power that he just came up with that like no.
And he's finally gotten comfortable with it. Like you can tell he's finally comfortable with the concept of stands as a power.
Yeah.
Because part 4 is really where we start getting interesting stand abilities and interesting stand fights.
Yeah. And also interesting stand users, I think, right? Like properly interesting
the character
and this is getting on something that's really, really important to me, and why I like this part specifically is that it is so character focused that even the enemy stand users feel like they're actual characters in the show and not just opponents to be dealt with, you know?
Right. It is no longer just okay. Well, I mean, because like it answers the question from like it doesn't answer the question, but it's a response to the question we had from part 3. Like, okay, so like we take the flesh buds out of the first 3 guys we meet, but now we're just killing everybody else.
Yeah. Yeah, and in this one,
this is a town with people in it, and if somebody dies, people will ask questions about it.
Yeah.
So like,
and
for the most part, fights are ended amicably in some way, shape, or form, or like.
And the other thing is that Josuke is, I believe he says at some point that he's a pacifist, essentially. That, like, you know, he'll beat somebody up if he needs to, but he's never going to take a life. You know, he doesn't want to go that
which
far.
Is why his stand. His
stand is so cool. Just, like, being able to, like, reshape any matter at all back into its original state.
Oh, my God. That it was the initial the reason my like headcanon fan stand is hard at races is not only because I'm a huge fan of Architecture and Helensky and also Dr. Dog, who did a phenomenal cover of it, but the concept of being able to like use a stand for not just destroying things, to be able to like have more influence than that.
Yeah, and that's the other...
And we see this in really crazy ways in the very beginning where he's fighting Angelo and he punches a hole in his mom and shatters a glass bottle and then pulls it all back and heals her and reshapes the glass bottle with the water stand in the bottle. Like,
that's so clever. Like, it... And the other thing is that, like, it has that fun thing. That moment in particular is fun because like it's like such a gut punch that it's like, oh my God, he literally just punched through his own mom. But then it's like, oh,
he just killed his mom.
She's fine. You know, of course she's fine.
She's fine. And she didn't even know.
Yeah, but
I'm gonna let you lead this, and I'll take it on tangents every once in a while. But part 4 is just
So
I love it so much.
So as we kind of got into earlier, into the beginning, so like Jotaro arrives, you know, like he meets Josuke, and like Josuke's having this scuffle with some bullies, and he uses his stand to like, you know, to beat him up, and to like one of them gets his face like like reshaped, and you know, and it's like
the cheapest plastic surgery on the planet.
Exactly. And that's when Jotaro was like, okay, here's the deal. You're a stand user. This is what a stand is. I have one too. All Joestars have one. Also, I'm here not just because of you, but because my my grandfather, your father, has these pictures that have led me here, that he got from his stand. So
it's like, imagine being a Japanese high schooler and this guy comes up to you and he's like, my grandfather, your father, has these magic pictures that led me here.
Not just that, but just a big man. Jotaro is huge.
I said something about this while you were gone, but literally they turned a 17-year-old with way too much testosterone in his body into an actual character in this part.
Yeah.
He interacts with people in he's still Jotaro.
Yeah.
But you can tell he cares about Josuke. In the Rat Hunt episode, people are always like, oh, why fucking Jotaro, he must be old now. But no, if you pay any attention, it's he's taking these hits and he's trying to train Josuke. He's like, I can take these hits. This will suck for a minute, but he's got a healing stand. He can fix me right up. Yeah. He needs to know how to take out the rats. I can take out the rats. I'm going to protect him and make him take out the rats.
Yeah, that whole arc of the surrogate brotherness there, that's him kind of leading Josuke on and teaching him a greater kind of responsibility and teaching him how to really compose himself and because the other thing about Josuke is that he has this temper issue, especially when people mention his hair.
If you say anything bad about this man's pompadour, you're in for it. Your life is forfeit, and you deserve whatever consequences befall you.
Yeah, which to be fair, it is a little silly. It's kind of a silly haircut, but it looks nice on him. And oh fuck! I didn't mean it. Just add some punching sound effects in there. Just there
is a very interesting, albeit canonically incorrect fan theory about this, and we'll talk about that in part 2.
They do actually give that whole thing a backstory, whereas this
oh yeah, the random stranger that pushed their car through the snow.
Yeah, exactly.
So the fan theory surrounding that is that is Josuke. People thought that Araki was planning to make some sort of time loop, or the ending was going to be different in that Josuke would go back in time and save himself, and that's what happened. But that's just a fan theory. That is not canon. That is not true. That is not spoilers.
I was wondering if that thread was going to pull through, because that was
just
also
a random
something
stranger.
It seemed like it was implying, but
he's just a heroic random stranger.
Yeah, because they really hide his face and everything, and he has the same kind of build that Josuke does.
Oh, I would love to see that write-up of this story, but it was just never the case. It was never meant to be.
Yeah.
But if somebody wants to make that an alternate history light novel, I might read that.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Hirohiko Araki, if you're listening to this English language podcast,
which
take some advice
please, for the love of God, say that you are. I love you.
Unconditional
in
love, Araki-san.
in a fully in a fully kind of never meet your heroes, and also complete language barrier and all kinds of other things.
Yeah.
But what's the word for a
parasocial relationship?
You form a relationship.
Parasocial.
That's the one. Parasocial in an entire parasocial way. I love you, Araki. In my opinion, you can do no wrong. I have stopped reading the latest chapters of Part 9. I'm waiting for more of it to come out before I read further into it, because it seems like it's going to be kind of a slow burn kind of thing. And you're releasing chapters on a monthly schedule with hiatus. So I'm gonna give it a minute before I like dive into it.
Yeah.
But I trust the process. I know you're cooking.
Yep. Man,
good luck.
Can you imagine somebody releasing one new chapter every week? That would be crazy.
It is crazy. Like, it's insane that that's how the manga industry runs.
Yeah, you'd have to be a real crazy person to get into that industry. Take Rohan Kishibe, for example.
Self-insert Rohan Kishibe.
Yeah,
yes.
I don't know if it's like a self. I don't.
He licks spider. It is a self-insert.
Hang on.
It is 100%.
Hang on. I looked this up and like they don't really have a lot of similarities in terms of like upbringing and stuff. But like it is. I do think that it's like it's maybe not exactly a self-insert, but it's definitely like a knowing kind of. It's in the know, and it's kind of like playing off of the off the stereotype of the very the insular obsessed mangaka who's who only interacts with the world insofar as he can like use it as inspiration.
Sure. I mean, and there are a million of those guys.
Yeah, there are, but like I don't know if Araki is that, but he's been working in the manga industry for a long time, so I feel like he's finally at the point where he's like, I can make a little fun of myself and of the people who do this for a living,
Yeah, exactly. I think this arc is set in like the mid to late 90s. It was being published, I want to say, around the same time.
Let me double check you there. It should be 1999 is when it takes place. So right at the turn of the century, or the turn of millennium.
I think we'll get there when we get there. Don't worry about the timeline on part 5.
But yeah, like
I'm just sitting here smiling because I'm thinking about part 4.
Yeah, like it. The thing I was getting at earlier is that like every single enemy stand user is their own character, not just an obstacle, and that really helps you like feel a sense of community in the show, even when it's not like not always exploring non-stand users, right? Like all of these stand users that they're interacting with right now, for the most part anyways, are people who live in their town, right? It's because Angelo was going around shooting people with this arrow that gives people stands, and
right. No, not Angelo.
Not Angelo. Keijo Nijimura. My bad.
Keijo.
Sorry. I'm trying to look at my notes here and keep things straight.
You're good.
It was a few days ago when I finished this, and then there was a rough weekend, so I'm trying to remember everything.
And then there was an entire hurricane. Yeah, no, you're good.
Yeah, I discovered my stand in the heat of battle. It was crazy.
But I mean, there's not a single like side character that I can think of that doesn't like at least once come back around for something.
Yeah, like so the only ones that I would say are like outright bad that they deal with in this season are Angelo, first of all, because obviously, serial killer, rapist, bad guy,
right.
Then Akira Otoshi, Red Hot Chili Pepper. He gets turned into
a rock, very funny.
Yeah. Red Hot Chili Pepper, bad guy,
just awful dude.
Yeah, they dispose of him pretty well. Does he die though? I can't remember if he dies or not. Like
I don't think he dies.
I know his stand.
I'm pretty
dies,
sure he's still alive.
But yeah.
Oh, if your stand dies, then you die.
Yeah, but like I don't remember if he dies or not. I think they might have just broken the rules. They don't
put a lot of focus onto it.
And like I'm not even sure if like Angelo's like quote unquote dies because he's still in the rock.
Oh no, he's not dead. He's just in the rock.
Yeah.
He just is a rock now.
Yeah, And then I guess they kill some rats.
Hey, yo, Angelo. They did kill some rats, but the rats put some people in a fridge, so I think that's okay.
Yeah, but like, even if like we want to say that like some of these guys were killed, like the overwhelming majority of them have not been, and like they just kind of like they deal with the stand, and then the stand user like has some kind of like, you know, comes to some kind of closure for their own reasoning for, you know, using their stands for ill and becomes a better person.
Right.
You know?
Like I think the first time, is it the first time that not Keicho, Koichi uses echoes? Is it against the lock?
It's against the lock, yes. So
I mean, and that guy is like a complete shyster, and even at the end of the day, like all said and done, everything he does to Koichi didn't kill him. I don't think he even really hurts him. He's just like, hey man, knock this off.
Yeah.
And he just is able to resolve that situation.
Exactly. Like this part is so interesting because it diverges so greatly from the stuff up to this point, which has been, you know, just like, you know, fun but ultra violent, you know, like the
Right.
You know, but this has a, you know, like literally like on Josuke's uniform is like peace and love, you know. It's like, you know, oddly enough for
and the whole thing makes I mean, yes, it does, but like you see this even more intensely with Giorno's character design in the next arc. But like the whole like motif there is like you've got the peace and love, and then the whole thing makes a heart.
Yeah,
because he's got his jacket like unbuttoned and it like flopping open.
Yeah, it's kind of weird that for a show or for an arc set in the 90s that it has such a kind of like hippie-ish character at the center of it, right? Who doesn't want to kill anybody. You know, like he's a teen who, you know, who tries to exploit coupons to get, you know, millions of yen, but he still doesn't want to hurt anybody. He's just like, well,
right.
If I
I mean, it's like Ed and Eddie's shenanigans. It's not like Jotaro Kujo walking down the hallway, calling every woman he sees a bitch, and
yep. And then they're just like, oh, he's so cute. You know, it's like. No, when Josuke impresses a woman, he earns it, I guess. You know, but I don't even know if anybody finds him hot, right? No, they do, right? Because there's like in the first couple of episodes, there are girls following him around, right? I'm trying to remember.
I don't quite remember that. I just remember the guys with the turtle, and
because Jotaro tells them to piss off, you know, at a certain point. I remember that.
Oh, yeah, I guess so.
So
I the only scene that I can remember of Jotaro and girls is him in the hospital room with oh god. First of all, I don't know if we've gotten there yet, but second of all, oh no, I think it's literally like maybe the next episode we'll see.
Yeah, but like Josuke has chaotic good energy, whereas I feel like Jotaro had kind of like true neutral energy, you know. And I think that when the Jotaro or the Joestars are on the good side of the column, whether lawful or chaotic, you know, it's like that's where I'm interested in them, you know. And maybe that says me more about me as a person, that I want to see good characters do good things, but you know, but I don't find Jotaro particularly compelling in part 3, and he's better in this one because he's more of like the, you know, he's taking on more of like the stern
he's taking on more of a character arc.
Yeah, like also his fit in this one is just better, I think. Like, no offense to the black suit and everything, but like the white looks
Soul Town
so
Jotaro. Cool. Pimp coat Jotaro. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Yeah, and like the other thing about that costume design choice is that it finally clears up what's going on with his hair, which is just that like he has half a hat just sitting on his.
He just has half a hat, exactly. Which, you know, when oh, I wonder who the stand user is. Hat and a jacket that goes down to his ankles in summertime.
Yeah, but like we should probably get into some of the actual like events of this, right? Like, it is kind of like, stand user of the week kind of thing, same as last time before. But like, they come up with some pretty cool stands, right? Like the otaku who has such an inferiority complex that that he's like trying to create copies of other people to make himself seem popular. It's like that sort of shit.
The fact that it requires like a wooden like a
marionette
figure, like a figure model.
Yeah. Not a marionette.
A marionette. I mean, I guess it is a marionette because it's like on puppet strings, but it's like a form model, like just one of those like wooden artist's figures.
I know what you're talking about.
Like,
I can't.
You can pose them to.
Yeah.
I think it's called a form figure, but I'm not 100% sure.
Mannequin. Anyway, and like the other thing I love about that guy is that like he's so annoying that when he creates a copy of somebody or of somebody else with his stand, that person becomes like more and more annoyed with him as things go on. It's like you can't.
Well, there was even at some point. Exactly. There was this is where I will bring up Duang. This is the perfect moment to bring up Duang. I'm not going to repeat word for word what the transcription from that translation says, but this episode in particular with what is his name, bro?
Toshikazu Surface.
Toshikazu. Yes. So just look up Duang. Do yourself the favor. It's as if JoJo's Part 4 was turned into Ghost Stories. It's just like the most stupid but in all the right ways, if that makes sense.
It's Star Wars Part 3 Return of the West or whatever. You know about this?
I'm not familiar.
So when Revenge of the Sith was initially coming out, right? Like a couple months before the movie came out, a Chinese version of it leaked. And then somebody created like a really hasty like Chinese to English translation so that they could like distribute bootlegs of the movie around. But but everything was like so janky in this translation. That's
exactly what this is. And I think part of me wants to say that the lore of this is that it was a student project, but that's exactly what this is.
Hang on, let me look up the
Star Wars Part 3
Chinese bootleg. Star Wars the Third Gathers, Backstroke of the West.
Backstroke of the West. Hey yo. Luke be swimming.
That's also where the meme Game Time Started comes from. If you know that, because like it's the part where Anakin is like, now this is where the fun begins, but the translation in that is Game Time Started.
Game Time Started. If I can find like perfect. I'm gonna share this with the class actually. Oh wait, this is so low res, it's not even worth.
My name is, you don't need to remember, Gunkai Yunki, age 15. The past month to me is only graduation tests. The entrance into high school brings really exciting and worrying days. Till I met these two very special guys. Koichi. Yeah, that's when you first meet.
What a beautiful Duang, Chu. There must be no other place as pretty as this town. This feels like a picnic.
This is incredible.
Josuke, you are crazy. Where did your dignity and pride go? Make everybody happy. R slur around quite a few times, and I'm not gonna lie, some of those
Oh,
are some of them are funnier panels. I'm not gonna lie. Say what you will about me as a person, I can take it. But
be
this
careful.
in particular, their treatment of the chapter we were just talking about with the
Yep.
mannequins. You okay? I
Yeah.
am wood, stupid.
Yeah, but we should also talk about Yukiko and her stand, Love Deluxe, because
Cinderella.
no, well, because the first arc of that is really weird and interesting, right? Like
Mm.
when she essentially like kidnaps Koichi and is like, you're now basically my forced house husband, and I'm going to like fix you and
Yep.
make you a real man, like there's so much going on in that. And it's like, who
She
hurt you,
said I
Araki?
can fix him, and then he said I can fix her.
the
And my favorite part of that arc is Josuke's reaction when he finds out that somebody has a crush on Koichi, because he's just sipping a juice
Yep.
box and then he almost falls out of a window.
the show that I love like that. And
The entirety of let's go to an Italian restaurant
yeah,
like that.
that arc is delicious in dungeon, first of all. Like,
Right, like the food itself looks
yeah,
great, but then you get this scene of Okuyasu crying until he's like a deflated
yeah,
balloon, and then he's all better. And it's like it's just it's a perfect episode in that it sets up such an intense like what is going on here, and then it's just like, oh yeah, my name's Antonio. I'm Italian.
yeah,
I cook at a
yep,
food. It make you happy.
exactly. And like, that makes me wonder, like, what was Antonio's deal before he got shot, right? Like, did he already have a restaurant and this is just like his different version of it? Or like, was he just
I feel
hanging?
like
Like,
I feel like he has always been doing the restaurant. There's no way you get a stand like Pearl Jam that is explicitly around like making food better and making food have abnormal healing properties without spending your entire life and dedication and devotion to like making the best food you can possibly
yeah.
make.
That makes me wonder, like, so do stands are stands like metaphorical manifestations of that person's personality, or is it like they just kind of get whatever
Yes.
they get? No,
It is a manifestation of your fighting spirit.
okay.
So you can like it is like it's your other face. It's your other side. It's your mask even.
Yeah, describe anything to me in persona terms and then I understand it, Fun
Throw that
next
song
month.
in there. Throw that song in there, please.
But yeah, this one's just so fun. It's again, it's like it's more lighthearted than the last part. It's more chill and relaxed, It's like and it's more character focused, Like the there's the Red Hot Chili Pepper arc, where it's like he gets set up a little bit earlier on, he what was I about to say? Does he kills what's his face? The other brother, Keicho.
Keicho.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Which by the way, we should probably talk about the dad because the dad thing in that.
We absolutely should. I can't believe we didn't. So the whole thing, the whole reason that Keicho and Okuyasu are like holed up in this abandoned house, like on the edge of town, and they're being miscreants, and Okuyasu's an idiot, but he's Sky in the
Yeah.
show. The whole reason they're there in the first place is because Dio turned their dad into a homunculus, And now,
or more specifically, when Dio died, he turned into a homunculus because of some kind of
he had a flesh bud in his brain.
because of some part of the pact in that, in him agreeing to be Dio's servant,
I think
some kind of Faustian thing,
He became Dio's servant. Dio implanted a flesh bud in him, like from part 3. And then when Dio died, the flesh bud became corrupted and it just mutated him.
Yeah. But
so they're there, and they're there because they just have to take care of their dad. They're trying to create stand users in town. That's the reason that Keicho is like shooting everybody he can with sand arrows. Because they're trying to find a stand user that can fix their dad.
Well, first that's what they want to do, but then Keicho's like, we just need somebody who can kill him,
Right, because the other twist is that they did that for a really long time.
Yeah.
And now it's just at the point where it's like, well, we just want to put him out of his misery. Yeah. But even that, like, we haven't found anything that can actually kill him. He just regenerates.
Yeah, which, like, they never really bring that up again, but like it is kind of the pivot turn in the show where it becomes clear that like they're going to really develop these stand users and make them feel like real people, like there is no way that you do this where it's like, oh, these stand users are creating other stand users to try to like to basically give their father peace in whatever way they can. And, and then like go back and be like, okay, but also now, all the other stand users are just going to be evil and you have to just like decimate them. You can't come back from that.
Right. I mean, and it's like the extent of the interesting character drama in part 3 that was like tied to the main cast is Avdol dying, but actually he's not dead, but Avdol's dead.
Yeah. Man, they really didn't treat Avdol right.
And then they do the same with Kakyoin too. They're like, no, Kakyoin, he's blind. He's never going to be back. Then he comes back. He's like, oh, Dio time power. And then he gets turned into a donut. Yep.
And then in the
and then Joseph goes, Kakyoin!
But as I was getting to, so Chili Pepper kills Keicho, and that kind of like sets him up to be kind of like the midpoint villain of this little arc here. And
right
when he comes back, and it's like, oh, we need to like get out of town so that he can't like use the electricity to travel to us and figure out our plan. He still finds a way because Okuyasu like brought his bike over and it brought his motorcycle over and it like went into the battery and followed them that way. Like that arc too is so good because it again like gives Okuyasu a real like teaching moment, that's like, don't be so brash, like keep your shit together, think things through. And that ties into the whole theme of the show, which is like you can basically do anything if you just like keep a cool head and think 2 steps ahead of your enemy.
I agree with you. However, I do want to point out Okuyasu doesn't learn any lesson at all because he stands there for about 15 seconds and he tries to play some bit on him, and he was like, oh no, I genuinely was going nowhere with that question. I was going to punch you first, and then I was going to punch him if it didn't work out.
That's right, yeah. But like, I don't know, that's still like, even if that's like dumb and not like 2 steps ahead Z, it's still kind of like, he knew that he could just
he had a plan.
He had a plan, right? It's progress.
And he has the hand. Yeah. He just and it's a good thing that God nerfed Okuyasu's brain, because if he could use the hand to its fullest extent, if you're not aware, which you should be, you should know at this point, if you're watching this episode, this is a book club style podcast. You should be watching the show before you listen to these episodes. Yeah. But the hand erases all matter.
Yeah.
it just he swipes it, he makes it do the cool sound effect, and then like a line in front of him, it just erases the space.
Yeah, and like sucks everything back towards him. You know, at least everything that like can be sucked in. You know, it just like it erases that stuff, that matter,
Right.
and then like that vacuum sucks things
closer
in.
to me.
Yeah,
I just and then everything that was between me and you isn't there anymore. You're just here.
Yeah. What a cool stand. Like, honestly, Araki puts like every other superhero writer to shame with how creative the powers are.
Seriously, this is why I'm so burnt out on MCU bullshit, because it's like, oh, Ant-Man.
Yeah.
He gets really small, and then he gets really small.
Yeah.
But then he gets big.
Yeah, and how
I mean, like, I like Spider-Man, but like when I look at the power concepts between like Superman, who is just so boring because he can do anything unless there's a green rock in 15 feet of him. And then you have other guys like Calendar Man. Sure. But like even Araki's joke characters are like more thought out and conceptually sound than Calendar Man. Like we'll get to one. I think there are two really good joke stands in the next arc, but I mean we've already gotten Pearl Jam.
Yeah,
you know, like so what a great joke episode.
You know,
where we got Whole Horse.
Yeah, and Whole Horse. Who was just
we got the entire equine.
And then we get a baby who is invisible.
And we get a baby that's evil. Like, I mean, you know. And the baby that's evil has a really cool stand. I don't know, man. It's just like the JoJo's Bizarre Adventure in particular is what I compare to when I'm like, is this interesting? Do I care enough to give this my time?
Yeah.
Does the writer care enough about what they're writing to like make me want to keep reading?
Yeah.
And when I watch a Marvel movie, all I sense from the writer room is like, how much AI can we use before they notice?
Yeah. You know, how much can we do with CGI so that we don't have to commit to any conceptual design, you know.
Right. And let's just use just enough of the comic books to make the people who care about the comic books come into the movies.
Yeah.
But then make some stupid like Deus Ex Machina decision at the last like 12th hour that completely changes everything that anybody liked about the comic book in the first place. Like
yeah.
Batman versus Superman. Martha, why do you know that name? Why do you know that name?
If we ever start a Patreon, I think that every year we should just do one episode where we just cover something that we really hate. And like, you know, like not even anime related, just like, you know, just let us rant about something, you know. And Batman vs Superman will be like high on that list.
We get the episode where we get to hate on something.
Yeah.
And then we get the episode where we get to praise something, which I mean, you know, we do a decent enough job so far of picking these shows that we give out a lot of praise.
Yeah.
Hopefully we find a more lucrative path for this before we start having to just drudge through the trenches of every episode of Fate.
I don't know. I think there's enough good,
or like Re:Zero or something.
I don't think we'll ever reach a point where like we'll run out of good, interesting, relevant anime to watch. You know, so we don't have to go into any trenches we don't want to. You know, there's no draft.
We're about to put Dawn to Dawn in a shotgun barrel and blast it at you. I'm just giving you that warning right now.
Yeah.
Dawn to Dawn is on the way.
Dawn to Dawn is on the way. You know, we're still don't know how many episodes it is, so you know it's hard to say when that will happen. But like, you know, there's a couple of shows that are coming out right now that we're going to cover when they're finished. You know.
I will say, having looked into it more, Dawn to Dawn might not be something that we run on a long-term basis. But it seems pretty heavily front-loaded with a lot of interesting stuff. So it should be fun to cover for a little bit.
Yeah, like if it's a 12 or 24 episode season, we can do it in one go, you know, the way we always do.
Yeah.
But anyways, back to JoJo. The subject of this show.
Back to JoJo. And what a subject.
So when they finally defeat Chili Pepper, that's when Joseph Joestar comes, you know, because Chili Pepper was like, I'm going to, you know, I need to figure out when and how Joseph Joestar is going to get here so I can defeat him. Then,
right,
you know.
And it's like the stakes are high because Joseph is
old. Crusty.
He's old now. And it's like he's walking around, he's buying $400 worth of adult diapers. He's going to the baby store to buy another $200 worth of baby diapers.
Yeah. Like, he can't hear.
God, what do you think Susie Q is going to think when he comes home with an invisible baby?
Yeah. Yeah. And
you go to Japan and you come back with another baby? That's not mine. Again?
Yeah, but like when Joseph finally arrives and like Josuke, like, you know, catches him from falling into the boat, and like you just get like this really touching moment where it's like, oh, it's father and son, you know, connections can really happen at any time, you know, it's never too late, you know. It's so sweet. It's so nice.
I mean, it really is, and it just there he is, old ass Joseph. And he's so cute. Yep. Look at him.
And of course, obviously, like a couple episodes later, you know, Joseph's getting in the way and Josuke's getting frustrated. But that's how being around your grandfather works, you know.
Joseph's stealing Josuke's credit card to go on a shopping spree.
Yeah, I hate it when that happens.
Also, Josuke's mom is a gamer, dude.
What do you want me to say there?
We're running on low steam, guys. I'm gonna break kayfabe here for a second. It's almost midnight.
It is.
I'm a very tired boy.
Yeah. Can we just run through like the final things that happened in this season, just real quick. So
I'm hanging on.
So we establish Kira, the serial killer.
Yes.
Who I assume is going to be more important in the next arc. You know,
Yoshikage Kira.
Yeah, but like basically anybody who's disappeared and didn't disappear because they got shot by the arrow and became a stand user, disappeared because this guy murdered them, you know? And it's unclear what his stand is yet, but you know, he has some kind of stand. You know.
Some kind of stand. Oh my god.
But yeah, there's
Kira's a threat. I'll just say that.
Yep. But that happens, you know, like we learn that ghosts exist in this world, which is crazy. Mm-hmm. You know, like of all the supernatural things that have happened in this universe, it's like, okay, well, you know, now there are like actually spirits that you can like visit if you walk down the wrong alley, you know, like
which like, and also he ties in the whole like actual horror story where it's like, you know, serial killer breaks into a house, mm-hmm. kills the dog, gets under their bed, and like the girl like puts her hand over the corner of the bed and the dog like licks her hand, but it's not the dog.
Was that a thing that existed before Rocky and he just kind of used that, or does that come from Rocky?
I'm pretty sure that's like centuries old.
I'm curious about that because like it seems like the kind of thing, it seems like the lingering influence of JoJo could have been the cause of that that little, you know, that story that just kind of gets pushed around in middle school. You know, it's like, oh, you know, and like I've never found it to be all that scary because it's like the licking thing is really weird and gross, and it just makes me feel more icky than scared, you know. But like, what's a man doing under my bed licking me?
For real, what a freak. Who's gonna match his nasty?
What if instead of Kira, he was called Freaka?
What if instead of Yoshikage Kira, he was called Yoshikage Freak? And instead of his stand doing whatever his stand does, I'm not spoiling it, it freaked instead.
There's the really fun harvest arc there, where they're where, as we said, they're trying to, like, you know, take advantage of like aggressive couponing to and then later on, like, you know, lottery tickets that I guess people just throw away and never check, you know, to get tons of money, you know, and like they do eventually succeed because
Shigechi and his harvest come into town and they're like, hey, yo, we can track every single trash can that has ever existed in about 15 minutes.
Yeah. You know, and like that kid is like so obsessed with them and like kind of wants to be their friend, but then it's like, oh, well, now that you're cutting into my profit.
But he's also so self-interested. Exactly. He's so self-interested that it's just like, but really, like, I mean, I know you guys came up with the plan, but I did all the work. So like,
and you know, and like, again, the other thing about this is that, like, because they're treating all these stands like real characters, it's like we see people using stands in ways that aren't strictly evil, right? Like this guy who's just like this kid who's just like, I want to pick up pocket change or whatever, you know, or you know, like the chef that's just making food because he loves making food, but it just happens to make people better, you know.
Exactly. And Yukiko, who uses her hair not necessarily for violence, but whatever she's doing ain't really kosher in my book, I don't think. She
uses it for violence at first, but then, like, you know, she kind of gets the message from Koichi that's like, this isn't gonna work out, you know, and she's like, I gotta observe him from afar, you know, like, just, you know, I might not be able to have him, but he's in my heart still, you know. And then and then they have the Cinderella arc that kind of finishes off this, you know, which, you know, it's an okay little arc, you know. It's like, you know, she learns that the real beauty is on the inside, and that she doesn't, and that, you know, Koichi is going to be more impressed with how, you know, how she treats him than anything else.
Character development for a tertiary character?
It's crazy, you know.
That's insane.
Some shows can't even manage that for their main characters.
I mean, we're sitting on part 3. But I mean, they do that a little bit. We get sword art. I mean, we get that a little bit though, where like in part 3 you had Whole Horse, who shows up a few times, and then the Oingo Boingo brothers are involved for a little bit, but like they realistically, this is like a step up from that. Like,
does Whole Horse actually have any development, or does he just like get shotgun blasted at the end and that's that, you know?
He doesn't get any development. He just shows up a lot.
Yeah. Like,
he gets funnier. He gets more interesting, but
yeah. Man, we're going to get so cooked when we do the JoJo's tier list, and like Stardust Crusaders is like lower than A tier.
By obligation, we have to put Stardust Crusaders in just like F tier, F minus,
just to have something in F tier.
Man, even part 1 is like C tier. I just banged my knee off the bottom of my desk.
Oof. Sorry, my dude. Yeah, we can kind of wrap things up here because like the this arc is kind of just, it's like it's the setting up of everything, before we get to like the, the proper main villain of this arc,
Right. We are watching the chessboard be Lane.
Mm-hmm.
Lane? we are watching the chessboard be set up in front of us. And we are about to get to the part where Magnus Carlsen sits down at the table.
Yep.
Also, just to roll it back just for a second, Humans Can Lick 2, which is apparently like one of the first publication names for that story, was seen in print as early as February 1982, but it was known as a campfire story long before that.
Oh, okay. All right. I can't really see a Rocky camping, but
Oral tradition. I don't know, man. You pick up on things.
To come back to the actual point that I was trying to make earlier, it's like I think that this arc here, all the setting up of everything it's doing, it's like, we're seeing a greater depth to this universe that we haven't seen yet. It's like there's more to this saga than just, who's the next Joestar and, what variant of Dio are they going to fight this time,
Right. And it's insane. It's crazy that we've come from like, oh, whirlwind adventure. We're going all across the world. We're going to see so many different things and we're going to meet so many different people, to just like pulling it back, putting it in one town over one summer, or not even summer. They're still in school.
Yeah.
But
yeah, they're still in
just
school.
Like,
so like,
dialing back the scale and focusing more on the characters really lets Araki play with this formula in a new way that we haven't seen yet from 1 to 4. And it is, I think it's a starting point for like, from here, it's just up. And I know I keep saying that, but it's like, as good as this is, it just keeps getting better.
Yeah. And like, not only that, but like having the stakes so kind of like lowered, at least in this first part, gives him the opportunity to like develop the relationships really, right? Like, Josuke and Koichi and Okuyasu feel like real friends, like, they go on little tangents together, or they go on little adventures together, and get up to hijinks and stuff. And,
right. They don't just have a coordinated high five that they can all do in the 30th episode for no reason.
Yeah, like
they're like actually friends and they hang out.
Yeah, like there was some little moment that happened when the Otaku kid throws Koichi through a door or whatever, and like Josuke comes over to help him, and like there's some little interaction that happens between them, and it's like, oh, these guys are real friends. They like actually like enjoy being around each other, and I feel like that's what's missing from part 3, is that sense of real camaraderie, and not just like being on the same mission because it, you all want to do it, but man, and of course, like, I don't tell me if I'm right or wrong, but I feel like because a lot of the enemy stand users up to this point have kind of had turns towards lighter, it's like, is this leading to like an Avengers Endgame moment where like all of the stand users up to this point are now going to help them? That would be really cool.
I don't know why you started with "Don't tell me if I'm right or wrong" and then formed it like a question, because I'm just gonna sit here and stare at you.
It's a rhetorical question. But
I will neither confirm nor deny these allegations.
Or at the very least, that like these other stand users will become more important to the plot as it keeps progressing, right? that
I will give you that a lot of them come around later in some way, shape, or form.
yeah, it's good. Oh, and we didn't even talk about Koichi's stand, which I really like. Koichi's stand. It's like,
Echoes!
you know, just like throwing onomatopoeia there is like, it's so comic booky, but it's so cool. You know, like
right. And then the step up to go from like Echoes Act 1, which just like made the sound. He can now give things the property of the sound.
Yeah.
So like the rock that he jumps on, he like jumps out of the window and he like puts an onomatopoeia on the rock, and then the rock turns into a spring, and it like bounces and it cushions his fall and it lets him safely land. And it's like it is, the powers are
endlessly creative.
I've already endlessly creative.
I don't know how he does it.
He's a genius, a peyote or something. I don't know. He's touched by the hand of God. He actually is an immortal 7 million year old vampire that's been around since the dawn of time and has just seen everything.
Maybe this is his stand.
JoJo's is completely autobiographical.
I'm looking forward to the next part here because it's so... This stuff is so good and so cohesive that I want to keep seeing it through. I don't feel like it's an obligation. I can actually like enjoy these characters and want to see what happens to them.
Exactly.
And we will be seeing what happens to them, you know, a little segue there, on October 28th, you know, Lord willing. You know, it seems like we've been delaying a lot of episodes lately for reasons, what, you know, both in and out of our control, but, you know, October 28th, that's JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Diamond is Unbreakable, the Cour arc, you know. But before that, on October 14th, we have Devilman Crybaby, which is a 10 or 12 episode OVA on Netflix, you know.
Yep.
I'm looking forward to that because I've seen some of that director's other stuff, and I'm impressed with his style and his, you know, and his overall sensibility. And I'm interested to see how he brings that to something that's more horror related, you know?
It's pretty solid. I'm not gonna, obviously we'll get into it in a week or so whenever we cover it, but
this episode's coming out in October. That's coming out in October. JoJo's coming out in October. We're having a busy October, so keep your eyes on that.
Keep your eyes on your feed.
Yep. Keep your eyes on your feed.
Pay attention to your feed.
Yep. You know, don't
pay real close attention to your feed.
Yeah, you know, don't.
We're really hoping we don't spiral out of control.
Yeah, don't
before the end of the month.
Don't let your eyes go in different directions. You know.
Don't like crawl into a hole in the wall or something. You know. Like fly away into the ether. Like be grounded.
Yep.
Pay attention to your feed.
Yeah. If you want to see a select curation of Duwang quotes, check us out on social media. I will probably be parsing through these and like, you know, give like a top 10 best Duwangs on Instagram or something. All of that's on at How to Otaku Pod, wherever you find social media, I guess.
Facebook, probably not. X, I call it Twitter.
Well, everything I post to Instagram goes automatically
there.
to Facebook, so Facebook.
Oh.
Yeah. It's very easy. I don't even have to open
I think we have a Threads.
Honestly, at this point, we probably should just open a Threads, you know, just to, you know. What if we became the number one thing on Threads? Well, number two besides Hank Green.
What if we Yeah, I wouldn't want to overthrow Hank Green.
Yeah.
What? Do you think we could get Hank Green to watch Cells at Work?
Is that the name of an anime?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Hang on, let me look this up.
It's an anime about blood cells and how they help protect your body.
Ooh, it's like what's the movie? Osmosis Jones.
Wonderwall. You gotta be the one that saves me.
Man, I know that song all too well. thanks for listening, everyone.
Thanks for putting up with us.
Yeah, thanks for putting up with us and putting up with our ASMR energy this time. We promise that next time we'll be yelling and screaming about whatever insane shit happened. But I feel like this more laid back, relaxed conversation kind of suits the mood of this arc.
The first chunk of episodes here, absolutely. I mean, it really does just like. A lot of it is a lot more low key. It really does fit.
It has a homey
quiet
vibe.
Town vibes. Exactly. Yeah. It tries. Well, it's making you try. It's trying to make you feel comfortable, Josh.
Yeah, but that's basically it for us. You got anything you want to plug? Nope.
My ears and go to bed.
Alright, thanks for listening, everyone. We'll catch you next time. Peace.
See you, Space Cowboy.